Hey, welcome back to the Lutheran Worship Podcast. My name is Reverend Steve Zank, and with me here is the one and only Kip Fox. Kip is Kip
regular
short
old Kip
for
Fox.
something? I mean, it's like Kip, Kipster.
Kipper. This gets confused a lot. I am short, but my name is not shortened. No, that's the whole thing. Just K-I-P.
I just like it. We both have those one syllable names, Steve Zank, Kip Fox. I had a short. I had to get rid of the N, but once I get rid of the N,
right,
I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
So
I used to have an N on the net. It was Kippen. But
it's so good to see you. So last episode, we talked about the 3 different cultures of songwriting, but it's true of any kind of songs, or even it's even more broadly true. As a quick recap, those 3 were, Kip.
Mastery.
The mastery complex approach.
I know this one. Consumer
approach, and finally,
involvement
approach. So we talked about those 3 different approaches to songwriting. And the mastery complex approach of songwriting, you measure success by how complex it is, how masterful it is, the level of musicianship required to pull it off. All those things are key to the mastery approach. And if you don't perform it well, or if it's not that level of complexity, it's not as interesting. It doesn't really succeed. Some of the modern composers, you can think about that. I think personally of Radiohead, how complex their music is, the time signatures they use, the different keys, the way they break the rules of music all the time, and yet it's beautiful. The other one we talked about was the consumer approach.
That's right. Consumer approach is really based on the kind of a common denominator. It's based on consumerism.
Yeah, and songwriting like that oftentimes shaves off the distinctive edges of, in our case, the Lutheran tradition. A lot to do with sacraments tend to get shaved off, etc.
Yeah, and also it leans towards relying on the performance of the song to work in context.
Yeah, like a singer, like a really good singer.
Not performance in a bad way, but just by nature.
Yeah. And then finally, the involvement approach. And I want to clarify, this comes from the idea of a folk tradition. And one great thing about the involvement approach, in the idea of it being tied to folk, is that it's a micro-community involvement. It's not involvement of a giant community. It's this community. It's that community. It's these people. And so, the smallest version of this is when you sing Happy Birthday around the dining room table for a relative, and your family has their own way of doing it. Do you add on channel 2? Do you add and many more? How do you sing it? Does everyone sing it purposefully really bad? Like sometimes in a community of really good singers,
it really slows down.
Singing it bad. Does one of the relatives always sing the third above, and really do a big flourish at the end? It's all part of the micro-community.
I generally bounce around to the different harmonic offerings, just mostly to get attention from others.
Yeah.
So if
you might be in the consumer mindset by accident.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
But Kip asked a great question last episode that we're following up on, which is, why do we suggest the involvement approach be the mainstay cultural dynamic of your song selection? Why is involvement approach so important? So Kip kind of brought that up. We thought maybe it would be worthy of the whole episode. So Kip, it was your question. So what do you think?
So obviously I don't have the answer. I'm ready for what you've got.
Well, let's just talk about it a little bit about the involvement approach. Where do we even get the idea that singing is part of a church service? Why don't we just show up, sit around, look at the Bible together, have a sermon, have communion, and go home? Like, why sing at all? What's going on with that?
Well, I think we see it clearly commanded and called for in Scripture.
Yeah.
Especially in the Psalms, right?
Psalms, and I think of Paul. You're singing to each other the hymns and songs and spiritual songs. If you look at like Psalm 96, talks about ascribe to the Lord glory and strength, sing to the Lord a new song, enter his gates with thanksgiving, Psalm 100, clap your hands, Psalm 47, lift up your hands to the holy place, worship and bow down, all these kinds of commands or encouragements to the congregation in the Psalms to sing. And I think of my teacher, Mike Mittendorf, who, in talking about the divine service, the German word Gottesdienst translated as the divine service, that when you receive from God, as we do when we gather for worship, what do? Well, you say thank you. You say thanks. And a lot of times it comes out as a song to glorify his name, to talk about his mercy, to testify to his grace, to sing to each other. So I think there's a way in which singing is kind of part of the fabric of what it means to be human, the expression of our experience. Mm-hmm. And the expression of our experience, even though a lot of us are German,
that's right.
Expressing our experience matters. The joy matters.
And we have the biblical accounts of, we've got the Song of Moses, we've got the Magnificat, we've got Mary's song, and everything in between. Yeah. We see response to God's goodness expressed through song, not just as a really an encouragement for churches to do so, but in individuals we see that natural response, and it's just a great part of our history as God's people.
Yeah, from Exodus 15, the first song, to Revelation 15, the last song. I think it's right. Mm-hmm. God's people sing. They sing. Yeah. And I think maybe to answer the question, why the involvement approach, maybe just do a German thought, let's do a Gedanken experiment, German thought experiment. What would it be like for the church to show up and not do any singing? What if all the songs were performance-oriented and the congregation never sang along or was encouraged to sing along, and songs were presentational? What would happen? What would we lose in that experience?
Yeah, I just think this opportunity to express thanksgiving and praise and lament, this opportunity as individuals, but also as a community to together with one voice respond to all that God has done and all that we know he will do. Man, it sounds sad without it.
Yeah, I just Googled it because I didn't know if it was from the scriptures, but it's not. It's just the 19th century Christian hymn. Okay. The idea of how can I keep from singing? Like, how can I keep from singing his praise? Like, how good is God? And I think there's a way in which if we don't encourage the church to regularly sing, we're sort of not helping them fully understand how good grace is, because there's nothing else to do, right? There's nothing else to do but to thank him for what he's done. And so I think the involvement approach, really what it does is help us really get our head around the Christian experience. The biblical witness tells us the importance of singing. And I think when we imagine a church service without the church singing, you really miss out on a lot.
Yeah, and thinking of this, setting the tone for this rhythm of life, we serve a God who listens, a God who hears, a God who wants us to pray and wants us to communicate with him. And music and song is tied to strong emotion. And so it's important for us to understand. I think about my kids. If we went to church and there was no singing, or they weren't expected to sing along and participate, what would they learn over time about their relationship with God and how often they could talk to him on a personal level, or sing or cry or any of those things, right?
Yeah, as if it was a cognitive experience.
Right.
The other thing that singing does is it brings together a community. I mean, when you gather for a birthday party, like we talked about a second ago, I almost said birthday service. Mm-hmm. When you gather for a birthday party, like I said a second ago, singing happy birthday is a big deal. That's a big rite. And that kind of, if you didn't sing happy birthday, be like, did we have a birthday? Did it happen?
Yeah.
Because it brings the community together. You gather around the table, everyone's there together. There's a moment where maybe you were all off doing your own thing for a while. Some folks were playing football. Some folks were watching the game on TV. Some people were playing cards or on back. But that's the Midwest birthday party right there. But if you gather on the table for the cake, that's when you know without a doubt your community. You're all there together and you're all singing. So I think it's another component. The involvement approach is not only a testimony to the fact that church is a community, but it lives out that reality. As we sing together, we see each other, we join our voices together, we're experiencing the church and in the unity of the church as we express together. No, I didn't receive this by myself. I received this as part of the church, and we express our thanks together. So I think that's another part of the involvement approach is the involvement matters. It really helps you think about what's happening as God gathers you together in the service.
I love that. I mean, that's really great. That makes me turn, and maybe we're jumping in too quickly, but that makes me turn to one of the major topics of discussion often, especially for modern worship and for worship leadership, is how to get your church to sing more, how to get your church to be more involved. Really, I think every worship leader on a Sunday morning has that thought on almost probably every song. Are the people singing this? Are they not singing it? What do we think is a healthy way to analyze or to review the way that we lead in a way that increases involvement without it becoming just this measurement tool for success as a worship leader or measurement tool for some sort of better worship with more involvement?
I think of my teacher, Dr. Jim Bachman, who talked about the idea that you can appeal to the sinner and invite them to church. Sometimes that's what donuts are about. You don't need donuts to come to church, but sometimes it's like, I'm going to go to church at the end, I'm getting a donut. That's not good. A sanctified reason to go to church, but sometimes that helps. Or there's a luncheon afterwards, or those kind of things.
Can I put a plug in encourage any church out there, just step up the donuts a little bit.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
More. Whatever level you're at, I want to encourage everyone with their donut game to just consider stepping it up.
Cronuts is too much. That's like you're kind of like, it's too obvious you're trying to bribe us. So
it doesn't have to be fancy. It just could be just a well-made glazed donut. I'm not saying it has to be. A cronut would be great too, though.
Donut holes are like, you're not even trying. I mean, sorry.
Yes, but if the donut holes are good, I'll let it slide.
So there's ways that we have to motivate people at church sometimes using techniques that kind of appeal to the sinner. They remind us that we're both sinner and saint. And so I think that one way of thinking about that with singing is that even though a song might have a great bridge that's really spiritual or something, however you want to say that, really meaningful, but it's too much of a stretch for people to sing for some reason. It requires them to be like bought all in a posture of total surrender or something like this.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe sometimes you need to think about that and say like, okay, I can't plan for everyone to be totally bought out and present to God in total faith.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I think the songs we pick might ask too much of singers. And all of a sudden it becomes like, I'm not sure I can even sing this because it's not something I would say. And I can't really in good conscience say this.
Yep.
And then maybe it's just someone like me who overthinks it. But
well, I'm right there with you, so maybe we're both overthinkers. This kind of draws me back towards our 3 songwriting approaches again, where just understanding, again, we've talked about involvement-oriented songs being the best, like the heaviest diet.
Yeah.
But not being naive to when you do have a song that is more mastery-based or more consumer-based. And again, we are not saying church can never have those songs, worship can never have those songs. They can and they should. There should be that variety. But I think what you were just describing to me sounds like perhaps a consumer-oriented song or even a song that involves more mastery than you might think or expect as a worship leader who loves music. So you might find yourself not seeing the involvement that you see on the YouTube concert that you saw, because you're not really properly evaluating which kind of song it is, you know?
And the other thing I've seen happen is that you don't know your people well enough.
Mm-hmm.
So like we said, the involvement approach is a micro-community approach. So a song might have worked in your old community and you got a new job and you do all your old songs from your old church and no one's singing them. Well, they're not their songs. You've got to learn their songs. You got to find out what they are. Even it's the same with traditional hymns. You got a lot of hymns in the hymnal. and every community has their favorites. And it's important, I think, to learn what those are and also to simplify. I find my personal experience, at least, is that if a song can be played with 4 choruses, it can also be played with 2 choruses. So you don't need to always do the full form. And in my experience, at least in my current local church, by current, I'm just saying where I'm at right now. I'm not looking to go anywhere. Just like where our community
Steve
is now.
Steve is announcing he's looking for a call, ladies and gentlemen.
Where I'm at now, we tend towards simplicity in terms of repetition.
Yeah.
And I think what's cool about that, it can be cool to do more complex too, but what's cool about the simple is I feel like it teaches people you're not going to have to sing this chorus 3 more times. So you might as well sing it now. Like this is the last time. But I feel like sometimes if I know a song, this is the part of the sinful part of me, right? If I know a song is going to go on and on and on and on, I'm going to sing this chorus 2 more times. I sort of have a hard time going in on that vocal, like really getting involved. I'm more likely to sing a song that's just a single chorus, personally. And so I think learning the simple stuff and then testing the boundaries. And your congregation may not want to sing the 3 choruses in a row, or they might. That might be part of their culture, right? But knowing it is important. Knowing what that is important.
Yeah, so I think it sounds like not only are we talking about involvement-oriented songs, there's also then how we're doing those involvement-oriented songs can be a big part of how involved people are. And you can, again, I think we said this in the last episode, you can have a song that is less, you can have songs that break the rules all the time because perhaps your culture or your context know a song by heart and love it. You said, you may enter into a new situation, a new call like you're looking for. And that's a joke, everybody. You may find yourself in a new place and you go, okay, here's their songs. And this is the favorite song of the congregation. And you're like, this is a really hard song to play and sing. But everybody knows that changes the whole, the calculus of it. But involvement orientation has to do with the songs themselves. And then also as leaders, being just really astute observers of who our people are and the way they respond and the context and the size of your sanctuary or your building or the size of the congregation, the amount of people that are there. I listen to like to watch a lot of stand-up comedy and listen to comedians talk. You hear them talking about how different it is in a small little bars in the back of a bar doing a gig versus a stadium, right? Same thing is true just in terms of understanding your context and how involvement works that way. And I'm totally with you on the extra choruses. Of course, my heart is always perfectly attuned. And
you're just trying to help your neighbor out. You're just looking out for your neighbor.
Yes, but when I sometimes do slip into observation mode, I will go, "Wow, I can't believe we're still." As a worship leader who's at a place sort of observing, I go, "I can't believe we're still doing this." Not because we can't sing it a bunch, but because the room doesn't fit the decision.
Well, I think sometimes we think we didn't sing it that much in the first chorus. Let's repeat it. And maybe the second time they'll be ready to sing it more. The older I get, the more I think the approach of finding the average person in their congregation and thinking about what songs that they would be willing to sing or be interested in singing, those are the best songs. And sometimes instead of saying, "I will follow you, where you go, I'll go," sometimes it's "Lord, help me be the kind of person who follows you."
Right.
Lord, help my heart, soften my heart of stone, give me a heart of flesh. Sometimes that is a song anyone can sing, who's a Christian who desires to go wherever God leads. But only those that are really attuned to that are willing to say, "Hey, I'm all out. Let's go." So I think that's part of it too, is maybe aiming too high on what we can actually say. And it's easier, I think, it's more of an involvement approach to ask God to help you than it is to say, "I'm definitely ready," if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I think, maybe we're going a little bit into a specific topic, but I agree with you completely. Oftentimes, worship song selections come from a place and a lyrical content that expresses extreme devotion. And as you say, our average person on a Sunday morning, where multiple generations and contexts and cultures and life seasons are represented, that highly reverent, actionable language is not always the most engaging for everyone.
Yeah. And I think before we sign off, we've really got to give people a heavy theological term, don't you think? I mean,
Yes.
we just got to do it. So the way we think about this in theology is the distinction between fides quae and fides qua. Fides quae, fides Fides, that's faith. Quae, Quae, and fides qua, Qa. The difference is this. Fides qua is a faith that believes. That's your faith clinging to the promises of Christ. That's you saying, I believe, help my unbelief. Fides qua. And then fides quae is the faith that is believed. That's all those things that you believe in. That's the promises of God and Jesus Christ. That's all those things, the faith that we believe. The modern worship culture and approach, in my experience, has tended towards fides qua. A lot of expression of this is my faith, here's how I believe, I will do this, I will do that, But that tends, in my experience, to challenge the involvement approach. You got to be really bought in. You got to be on that weekend retreat, at the end of the weekend retreat where you're really fired up. But songs that are fides quae, the songs about the faith that we believe, about the promises of God, about who God is in Jesus Christ, about him as a creator, redeemer, all these things. Those are easier, I think, for people to sing in any state. Even if they're not happy, they're grumpy, they're not ready to express their faith in that way, they're having a tough time.
Yeah.
They can sing those songs. And so I think that you'll find that fides quae songs about our faith, are usually more involvement-oriented on the whole than fides qua, which are more challenging.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, it makes me think maybe a little bit more simply or one category of that, which is like just heavily defiant songs. And oftentimes I think, man, I look around this room, I don't see a lot of folks that are feeling very defiantly faithful this morning. That takes a lot to step into that, being involved in something like that.
And I think it's okay to do this. But I think that one of the common practices is to try to use songs to create that emotion in people. So I want you to be more defiant. I'm going to present this song to you and try to get you to use this song towards defiance. I'm trying to inspire you towards it. And by nature, that's going to be less involvement approach oriented because people aren't there yet. They're not going to, but you say, Christ is my Redeemer. Any Christian in that room can sing, Christ is my Redeemer. So involvement approach, I think Kip did a good job talking about the scriptural call for us to sing. I think the German Gedanken experiment of us thinking about no one singing in worship was scary enough to prove our point, how important it is. And I think that we've kind of offered some ideas of how to think about this and approaches. What do you think? Is that anything else you want to add?
I think that answers my question, Steve. I'm very happy. No, this has been fun. It's been fun to kind of tease it out a bit practically and think of some situations and remind ourselves why involvement is important. And important may not even be the right word. A better word might be involvement is beautiful.
It's beautiful. Amen. Well, thanks for joining us for this episode of the Lutheran Worship Podcast, brought to you by the Center for Worship Leadership at Concordia University Irvine. Kip and I were glad you joined us today, and we'll see you next time.